I like it Raw News Network. You already know with the general, we keep it raw. No cut, no chase. So nobody's talking about the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is that Nolan supposedly was with some white girl while he was on Horns Island. Okay, and the elephant in the room is that this is Mississippi. Nah, and this could be all through the South, but Mississippi is the pinnacle of no toleration of any type of by interracial relationship. None of that. They ain't for that. They ain't never been for that. This is facts. This is facts. And so as we see, this, with his friends and all white friends, and that they ends up with Nolan's phone, ends up with his cell phone, and and the mother had to track the phone down. It was never given up freely. It was never given up freely. They had to track the phone down and go get the phone. And to my understanding, that there was messages deleted from the phone. But the story being that Nolan intended to ride on another boat or something of that nature. Now, if he intended to ride on another boat, why did they keep his phone? But they saying that he was going with her. He was going with her. But she's saying that he went with them. Now somebody lying, because it can't be both. Can't be both. It can only be one. So which one was it? Where did he go? You know, that's got to be found out. And so they need to bring all of them in for interrogation. They're gonna have to bring the feds in on this. Real talk. They're gonna have to bring the feds in on this. Cause there's no way Mississippi can be in charge of no investigation of the sorts. They never had, the capacity, because they've been the most racist state in the United States for a very long time. Anybody confused about that, I don't know where you've been. Okay, I don't know if you have read your history or not, but Mississippi has had the most lynchings, most kidnappings. We talking about national exposure for a lot of wicked things that. And I talk about the three civil rights workers, when you watch Mississippi Burning, where, they didn't murdered three civil rights workers, buried them out in some field. Matter of fact, was the car in there? I don't think the car was buried with them, but I think that they found the car, but somebody ended up telling where the boys was buried at. But that right there show you it was through the FBI that they put the pressure on that town. And I forget where that town was, but if you watch the story, you could easily find out. And they had to bring something like 200-300 FBI agents down there to to do the thorough investigation that was necessary. You know, to do the thorough investigation that was necessary. But that whole town was, they was in unity with their racism, and their white supremacy. They was in unison and unity with that. Okay, so you can't just go down there and expect that Mississippi gonna give you some fair and impartial investigation. investigation. You might as well give up on that. Give up on that, And so, but that to me is the elephant in the room. That they very well did not like that nigga boy messing with that white girl. That's just what it is. That could have been part of it. I'm not saying that that's all of it, but how many times have we been through this? Now we ain't gonna act like we new to this shit. We not new to this. You can get the book 100 years of lynching, and you can go in there, and I can guarantee you that a lot of reasons why, even Rosewood started over what they said. Some black man or black boy tried to, touch a white woman, and down in the city building. I think it was in one of the county buildings or something. And that caused, and they locked the boy up, and I think he was a teenager, but and they locked him up, and it was, it was rumors that there was gonna be a lynching, that they was gonna lynch the boy, and then the brothers came down there locked and loaded, like they not gonna let that happen, and from that, came the burning of Tulsa. You see, so even there, it's this dynamic. And so, is the dynamic that, Nolan was with this white girl that caused his ass to be unalived. This is serious, man. This is not, and people don't want to look at it. But hey, a lot of these peoples is not going for that. It's not going for that. And a lot of our people, silly as they may be, I don't know what be on their mind, where they going into these places and thinking somehow that it's changed, that, this is still the South, it's the South. And a lot of them ain't gonna never change. Yeah, you know. Yeah. A lot of them ain't gonna ever change. So no matter what you believe, what they believe is two different things. And the fact that that they kept his phone and they deleted messages. What was those messages? Now I'm quite sure it's a way to bring them messages back up. I believe there's a way because they know how, with all that FBI and going back into the mainframe of where the cell company, they could get the messages. They could see what was on the messages. They probably got to get a court order for that, but their mama could do that. His mama, the lawyer, could do that and find out what was deleted because she's saying some things was deleted out of his phone. And so it could have been some things that was said that was on that phone, and so they had to keep it to delete it, you know. And that's gonna be critical, but that's most definitely the elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about. And here come the general, and I put it out there, and his friend, he's been compromised. He no different. These are some, they out here living in this crazy world, and he's compromised because he's still here, and he still got to deal with them peoples. He still want to be subservient. He still want to be in proximity to whiteness. And so he's going to say, oh, it's not about race. He's going to play the card that Nolan did it to himself because they didn't already whispered in his ear and let him know that, nigga, you will be next. You will be next. This is Mississippi, nigga, and you can roll the dice if you want to. You can roll the dice if you want to, but, you can't beat us down here. The whole state is in unison and unity with our mission. And so when you got the whole state, unless you can get the federal rallies to come, and they in the MAGA running the federal government. Shit, you got MAGA running the federal government. So what are you gonna do? Okay, family. Appreciate y'all being here. Make sure y'all subscribe. Make sure you get over to my other channels. Make sure you get over to the Battle Scholar King Seti. Get over there. The links and all of that gonna be down at the bottom of the my YouTube page. Get over to Patreon. Click that link right down in the video description, and the General Seti One Stop on Etsy. Get over there, get you some DVDs, classic lectures, HD. Nobody does it better. I'll see you soon. Black Power.